Phil Spencer did an interview recently where he talked about Redfall's lackluster launch, Starfield, and the overall state of Xbox. And I found what he had to say to be very interesting. So here's one of the first things he mentioned that I want to highlight.
When we acquire studios, there's games that are in development when we acquire a studio, and then there's things that are either really early in development or not even conceived yet. And I think we need to improve on engaging in games that are midway through production when they become part of Xbox. And we didn't do a good job early on in engaging with Arcane Austin to really help them understand what it meant to be part of Xbox and part of first party, and use some of our internal resources to help them and kind of move along that journey even faster. So I left them to go work on the game. They're a very talented team. I love that team, and I still do. And I will totally bet on them to do another great game.
I never considered that a studio, even while being acquired, would never think about using the resources at their disposal. Redfall released bottom of the barrel performance-wise, gameplay-wise, existence-wise. Weirdly, I can see how instead of Arcane Austin asking Microsoft/Xbox for help, they instead thought that they would have to rush out the game to meet deadlines because now they've got a big corporation behind them. And unfortunately, rushing games out for strict deadlines has become an industry norm now. I do agree with Philly Speed that it is more on Xbox because they should have been more communicative of like, hey, we have $1 trillion corporation backing us. If you guys need help, we can provide it. One thing I don't understand though is that if they acknowledged how bad the game was in the state that it released in, why didn't they just delay it? Don't get me wrong, I am definitely saddened by delays more than OnlyFans subscribers when they find out that their favorite model has a boyfriend. But I will always take a delayed game that releases more enjoyable than a rush game that plays like every 2K game launch day. But I do respect the accountability from Phil Spencer on this end, and I will always be happy when a CEO takes criticism and really answers hard questions. And I am happy that Phil Spencer still believes in Arcane Austin because they have shown that they can put out quality game titles. So it's not like they're a bad studio. Let's just hope that for their next game, they realize that they are owned by essentially a bottomless piggy bank that will allow them to innovate and experiment and put out a game that can truly be groundbreaking. So let's move on to his next point.
We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth of the matter is that when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and have, in certain cases, very, very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that will that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team. That's on us, not on anybody else. Our vision is that everybody who's on console has to feel like they have a great experience and they're a first-class citizen. They've invested a ton in our platform.
First, I want to say that though I am disappointed to hear that Xbox has essentially just taken the L for this time being, I understand where Philly is coming from. The last generation was a really defining generation. The Xbox and PlayStation 3 were both mid-consoles, let's be honest here. Both had some really great titles and some highlights, but overall the consoles themselves were pretty lackluster on both ends. The PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One have pretty much set the industry standard for graphics, gameplay, storytelling, and everything that involves gaming today. And for Xbox to essentially coast along with PlayStation putting out banger after banger after banger, it's no surprise that PlayStation owns a majority of the console shares currently. I personally don't really include Nintendo in the market, but if you do want to put out Nintendo has been putting out some of the best games that we've ever seen on the Switch. And there's Xbox, just existing. Xbox is at a point now where they have a limited consumer base and a limited library of credible IPs at their disposal, while still competing with games like Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, anything Mario, anything Zelda. Like, just thinking about what they have to go up against, it intimidates me, and I'm not even involved. But the thing that I really want to highlight is Phil Spencer's comments on the whole narrative of...
And I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way.
At first, when Phil said it, I was like, is he stupid? Of course. You know, obviously they're not going to be number one, but if Xbox started putting out good games, then you would obviously start to see more of a shift in console shares, because right now, what are you gonna play on the Xbox Series S? What, Halo Infinite? No. Redfall? No. Gears of War? I don't even know what Gears of War they're on right now. That's how irrelevant Gears of War is. The only good games that I can think of that I've seen good reviews for are Hi-Fi Rush, Age of Empires, Forza Horizon, and that's really it. But when I sat down and I really thought about what he was saying, I started to realize that Phil is right. That even if Xbox was putting out some major groundbreaking titles, you would not see this major shift in console shares that everybody is pushing this narrative of, including myself at one point. Why would someone go and switch from a PlayStation to an Xbox when they already have great games on their console? I mean, sure, if Starfield was the greatest space exploration game of all time, you might see some people go and switch over, but PlayStation has already built their loyal fan base. It's kind of like the Android and Apple situation, where no matter what innovative things Samsung, Nokia, or whatever other Android phones do, people are still going to use Apple. You know why? Because Apple works, and people love seeing the blue messages. I want to bring this up as well. Most of the revenue that comes from consoles comes from what I call the holy quadrinity: Call of Duty, Madden, 2K, and FIFA. I am not a gambler by any means, but I would put money down that at least 70% of console owners have at least one of those 4 games installed, if not a combination of them. So unless Xbox decides to make Call of Duty exclusive, or buy EA, people are not going to just switch over to Xbox. I just don't see that happening. And for the 2% of people that want to say, well, what about Nintendo? They're in the market. No, the people who play Nintendo games are not the same people who play PlayStation 5 or Xbox games. You either own both or you pirate games from Nintendo on PC.
So what we have to do, and we have this unique vision because we see what creators want to do. Creators want to build games that can meet players on any screen. People play with their friends regardless of what other screen they're on. And the console is the core of the Xbox brand. There's no doubt. So like, we will stay focused on making sure that console experience is awesome. But I know some people want to hold us up of just being a better green version of what the blue guys do. And I'm just going to say, like, there's not a win for Xbox in staying in the wake of somebody else. We have to go off and do our own thing with Game Pass, with the stuff we do with xCloud, and the way we build our games.
With me saying all this, I don't think Xbox should just give up. If anything, I think that being in third place should reinvigorate Xbox, because in my mind, if you want to make Xbox a great place for your loyal fans, then reward them for being fans. Invest the money, invest the time, and put out good products. There really is no excuse for Xbox releases to be completely unplayable at launch. Microsoft is almost 3 times the company Sony is, and though I agree that putting out good games won't shift the market, just because you are in third place does not mean you can't fight for that participation trophy. You should still go out there, you should still give it your all, and you should still create a challenge for those ahead of you, because once they start getting too comfortable, you start to see what is happening now. PlayStation has upped the price of PlayStation Plus. PlayStation continually fights for exclusive rights to make Xbox's life harder. They have consistently shown that they can do and will do whatever it takes for them to get as much of the console market as they can. I don't know where Phil's head is at, but if I was him, I would double down. I would never suggest crunching or abusing developers because that is just a horrible thing to do. What I mean is, Phil should get all of the heads of ZeniMax, Bethesda, Rareware, all of them, and sit down and say that we need to innovate and we need to put out boundary-pushing games. We need to show that even though we're in third place, we're still going down swinging. So be creative, be innovative, and we will give you the resources that will allow you to do what you do best, and that is make great video games. I love Sony. Sony has created some of my most fonding gaming memories that I will cherish until the day I leave this earth, but I don't like how comfortable they're getting. PlayStation is in a space now where they can start to push the envelope of what's right, and they can really start to push what is ethical for the people who pay all of their salaries. So, no matter what, I think it's time for Phil and the rest of Xbox to really truly show that Xbox is the console that you want to buy. Because acknowledging defeat means that you have lost the battle. Admitting defeat means that you have lost the war. They cannot let Sony keep getting away with these practices. Like this shitty ass controller with the screen between it. What were they thinking?